Hello and welcome to episode 51 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is May 11th, 2020. As usual, I start with what I'm wearing, and the shawl I'm wearing is a very special one. The pattern is called In Dreams Mystery Shawl. It was a mystery knit along by Sunflower Design, Susan Pandorf, and it was part of a pattern collection that was called Two Towers. So it's a pattern that's inspired by Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, and it was one of the first mystery knit alongs I ever took part in. So I'm not quite sure whether it was the very first, but it was definitely one of the first mystery knit alongs. So I knew I needed some lace yarn. I used Regia lace. That has 600 meters on 400 grams. And I had two balls of it, but I had a third one just to be safe. And I did need it because mine turned out quite a bit bigger than the original. And the pattern said you need about 5,000 beads. But I think I only used about 3,000. Okay, but now to show you the shawl. As I said, it turned out very big and it has lots and lots and lots of beads. I think I'll stand up on the chair to let you see just how big this beauty is. Oops. Yeah, so it's a very special shawl. I really, really love it. And if I knit it again, I would probably not put all the beads up on the top of the shawl because you can't really see them up on the neck. Maybe I would do these just for fun, but these are really quite heavy and I don't think you really need them at this space, but I absolutely love the beads on the edge of the shawl. So I think the edge is very, very beautiful, and there the beads help to give the shawl some weight, so it sits nicely. The edge that goes on the top edge of the shawl is very beautiful. It's a bit different than most garter edges, so it has this little pattern that is incorporated in the whole thing and that you just knit as you go along. Yeah, so it's huge, it's beautiful, it sparkles, and I love it. And I don't really wear it often enough, and I've decided now it's almost 10 years old, so and I've only worn it every now and then, and I've decided to wear it more often now, especially since I knit this this dress made out of mohair yarn. It's by Lana Grossa silk hair print. It's a mix of mohair and silk. I think you saw the bottom part already when I went up on the chair. And when I realized that the colors really go together well, both of them have blue and gray. And so now I think every time I wear this dress, I want to wear this shawl as well. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. I link to all my projects down below beneath the video, so if you want to know more about these patterns or you want to get yourself a copy of the pattern, I link to the original patterns. With the shawl I do, with the dress, it was in a little booklet, and I think that wasn't available on Ravelry, so I couldn't link it, but I put the name down, so maybe you can find it. Okay, then on to finished objects, projects. Finished objects is what you say in English, right? So I have finished the soft socks that I knit for a friend, and I really hope she can wear it. She has very sensitive feet, and this is a sock yarn again by Lana Grossa with 5% cashmere in it, and very simple socks, but I hope she can wear them and she'll like them, and I will send them off soon. So I knit Fish Lips Kiss heel, and the toe, in German it's called a star toe. Not quite sure what you say in English, but it's my favorite toe to knit and to wear. And otherwise it's just a 2x2 rib very simple, but they're done and I'm happy. And I finished the wrist warmers for my son. So I knit just another 2x2 rib pattern, but then I knit, I changed between 2 rows of rib pattern and 2 rows of stockinette, and I did a few more pattern rows on one end than on the other, so you can either wear them like this with the short end at the hand and the long pattern bit at the elbow, or you can switch it around and it looks like a bit more of a cuff, and that's very nice too. So both these options are available to him and he can wear them, and I hope he's going to be happy with his wrist warmers. They're very hard to catch on camera, but black's the only color, on the color he wears most. Sometimes he'll have a bit of a print on a t-shirt, or sometimes something grey, but most of the time it's black. So that's what I finished during the last week, and I have now finished all the socks and wrist warmers I was knitting on, so I had to cast on a few new ones, and sorry, excuse me, as I usually start with my socks, I'll start with my new projects, the new cast-ons that I did last week, and I got a bit carried away and I cast on a few things. So the first pair of socks I cast on are knit out of Opal Cotton Premium. That's a yarn that's 38% wool, 32% nylon and 30% cotton. And I plan to knit some shorty socks, and I knit them very simple, just with stockinette stitch, so it has a rolled edge. The beginning is a bit like the Rose City rollers or something like that. There's a free pattern on Ravelry that starts like that, but I'm going to do a different heel, so it won't be exactly that pattern. It's just the idea of the rolled edge at the beginning that I got from that pattern. And I'm knitting on my chiaogoo mini circular needles, but what I want to do is I want to do a very simple little cuff and then a fish lips kiss heel, but then I want to add the short rows that I did with another pair that I knit before, so that the shorty socks don't slide down the heel. So that's the idea. I'll show you when I've knitted it so you know what I mean. So that's the first pair of socks I started, and I also started a pair of spiral socks. Do you call them spiral socks? And these are socks that won't have a heel. So because of the spiraling pattern, you don't need a heel, and they will just fit any foot, any size. So that's something nice to have around. I can give them away to whoever I want to give a present to, and it doesn't matter what shoe size they have, because they will just fit anyone. Or sometimes I have them at home if I have guests and they get cold feet, I can just offer them to wear. And I'm using Opal Fairy Tale, and it's the color Knusperhaus. Whatever, edible house. But I like the colors and I wanted to see them knit up, and I really like them. So that's the second pair of socks I started. And I started knitting a pair of wrist warmers. And this is a late birthday present for a girl who wanted to have them. And this is the pattern. I knit that before. I'm not sure I've showed it on the podcast before, but it's a very well-known pattern, so it's nothing very original. But I knit that pattern with some DK yarn, and I did 3 pattern repeats, and then I tried to knit it with lace yarn and with 4 pattern repeats, and I think it's a very nice size that you get with this pattern and 4 pattern repeats in the round. And I'm planning on doing 3 pattern repeats high. So I almost finished the second pattern repeat, and then I'll add a third one, and then these will be very light and nice but still warm wrist warmers. And the yarn is by Hansa Farm. It's their alpaca lace. So it's a pure baby alpaca yarn, and it runs 400 meters for 50 grams. And I think for the first pair of wrist warmers that I knit, I think I used about 10 grams for both wrist warmers. I think. I'll let you know when I'm done with the first one of these. So these are all the socks and wrist warmers, but just to stick with the new cast-ons I started last week, there's one more thing that I cast on, and that's another haramaki. I have this beautiful book, Haramaki, with all these. You can wear them as loop shawls, you can wear them as hats this way round or that way round, or you can wear them as a combination of a hat and a loop, or you can even wear them round your middle to keep warm. And there's one pattern in here, it's this one, it's called Way Home, and this one strip of in one color is supposed to symbolize the way home. And my aunt asked me to knit her this cowl years ago, and I kept putting it off, and she back then chose this yarn. It's a very old ball of opal yarn, and she wanted this color, and for the contrast color she said I could choose whatever I wanted. And back then I was knitting haramaki for myself out of 3 different blue colors, and I had some leftover from every color, and one of the blues was this blue, and I thought it really looks nice with this ball of yarn, so I decided to use these 2 colors for her haramaki. And as I said, it took me forever to start, but now I have actually started, and I just realized I'm in the middle of the row, but doesn't matter. I started with the provisional cast on, as it says in the pattern. So that's the purple yarn. That's just the cotton yarn that will get ripped out again. And then it looks like a really long strip. It is a very long strip that I'm knitting in garter stitch, but I'm knitting on the bias. So I do some increases on one end and decreases on the other end. And that means that my strip won't go straight down, so it won't be a huge long tube, but it sort of goes on the diagonal, and it goes round the haramaki, so it's not going to be as long as it looks now. And it also means that when I put in the single color, it won't go straight down, but it will wind round the cowl. So yeah, that sounds like it's going to look really nice, and if I like it, maybe I'll do another one in different colors for myself, but now this is for my aunt. So that's all the new cast-ons I cast on last week. Quite enough, I think. Now let's get on to the works in progress that you've seen before. The first and biggest one at the moment is my Kangaroo Trousers by Stephen West. Kangaroos is the name of the pattern, and I had already knit the front and back of these trousers, and I had started the waistband, and I finished the waistband. So I picked up stitches from the front and back, I cast on some new stitches, and then I folded it over, and I knit the beginning and the end together to form like a tube where I can put in some elastic. And the pattern has you do it straight away, but I wanted to be able to change the elastic, so I kept a little opening where I just cast off the stitches without attaching them to the beginning. So there's an opening here, and I can put in the elastic later. And on one side you can still see the stitches that I had picked up for the waistband, and on the other side I have picked up stitches from that cast on, and now I'm knitting a garter strip down. And while I'm doing this, I'm attaching the front and the back of the trousers. So I don't have to sew anything, there's no seam to be sewn, but by knitting this garter strip and then always attaching the last and first stitch to the front and the back of the trouser, I'm attaching the 2 pieces, and that's how it gets to be wide enough, because the pieces themselves wouldn't have been big enough to go around my bottom. So yeah, I just add this bit of width to the whole thing, and yeah, and now it's just a matter of necked back and front in the dark blue color, and attaching those pieces, and then I repeat the same thing on the other side, and then I repeat the same thing in between the middle of the trousers, and then I'll be finished. But that's still going to take a few days or weeks or months, but I hope to be finished before next winter comes, and then I'll be able to wear the trousers, and I'll be able to wear it together with a pullover that I've already knit. The next work in progress is my crochet pullover, the Carnaby crochet along. Last week I had just finished the part 4 in these neon colors, DK sock yarn, and I said the next magazine should be out soon, and it came out just a few days later. And this is part 5 of the Carnaby crochet along. So I think it's called Bullseye. It was quite easy to crochet, and it has most of the colors in it. It's funny, the first 3 parts, all the colors were always used, but this bit doesn't have the blue, and this bit does not have any green. So now they're mixing it up a bit more. Yeah, so the pile of pieces is growing, and someday this is going to be either a pullover or a jacket. Maybe I'm making it into a cardigan, but we'll see. So now this week I can crochet this same piece out of the cotton yarn, the blue and purple cotton yarn that I've started crocheting as well, as I always have to wait a full month until I can go on. So that's that. And then I continued knitting on my memories blanket. The pattern is called the Coziest Memory Blanket, and I made one before, and with this one I'm not repeating any colors unless I am knitting another project in the same color, which I haven't done so far. So this blanket is supposed to have one square for every project that I finish made of sock yarn. And these 2 colors, so these are the 3 squares that I've added last week, and these 2 colors I knit shorty socks. Those were the first socks with the short rows after the heel. I knit those socks in those 2 colors, and this is the first color from the 2-color brioche cowl that I knit, and so this was one of the colors, and the other color was red, and the red is going to go here. So that's going to be the next square that I knit. Yeah, so still a little blanket, but it's slowly growing. Oh, memories blanket, I think is what my project is called. So that is that, and then I did a little bit of work on my Hitofude cardigan. This is this nice thing. So I finished the sleeves and the neck, and I'm now knitting down the front and backs, and the back is knit straight down, but both the fronts get increases so that the jacket has enough width to go round my body. And you knit 3 pattern repeats before you do the first increase. I'd already done that, and then you're supposed to do the increases every 2 pattern repeats, but because I want mine a bit longer and wider, I decided to do the increases after another 3 pattern repeats. So that's what I did, and I have done the second increase, and I finished the first pattern repeat after the second increase. So on the fronts, the garter stitch, the number of stockinette stitches is growing, and the number of reverse stockinette stitches stays the same, and the lace pattern stays the same, but that's how the piece grows. Whereas on the back, the pattern just stays the same, and the number of stockinette stitches and everything stays the same. Yep. So I really enjoy doing that, but it's slow going as the number of stitches keeps increasing. That's that. Then I continued knitting on the lace fade pullover. That's the pattern by Romy. I had finished the lace pattern last week and I faded in the second color. So it's a bit hard to see because the colors are similar, very similar in some spots, but I did just a 12 round fade of mixing the 2 balls of yarn, and then, as I said, I put the arm stitches on some waist yarn, and I'm continuing to knit on the front and back. And now I'm only knitting with my second color, and I think I will probably knit about 40 rounds, and then I will mix in the third color and then knit another 40 rounds of that color and then add the ribbing. That's what I'm planning to do now. I'll see how it goes, and I'll try it on every now and then to see if it comes out right. So I think I want to change colors round about where my waist is, and then see that the pullover doesn't get too long but not too short either. Something like that. Yeah, but I'm now knitting on the second color, and it's just going round and round without a pattern. So that's some easy knitting. And I'm already at the last project for this week. I continued knitting on my Haruni triangular shawl, the knit along that we're doing. If you want to join in, please visit my group over on Ravelry. It's called Kikos Strickschule. You can find it through my Ravelry profile. And yeah, so quite a few people have already shown either the yarn that they're using or their cast on that they've done. And I've added a few pattern repeats. Haruni is a free pattern on Ravelry that's been knitted a lot of times. So there are very many projects that you can look at, lots and lots of different colors and different sizes. I'm using the 3-ply opal sock yarn, which is a very light sock yarn. It runs 400 meters on for 75 grams. And yeah, I'm at that bit where you repeat the pattern 10 times, but as I'm using a yarn that's quite thin, I'm thinking of doing more pattern repeats so that it comes out a bit bigger. I love big shawls. And I've also recorded a video on how to knit the shawl. That's only out in German, but if you want to have a look at just what I'm doing, or maybe you understand a bit of German, you can have a look at that. And because the thin, colorful yarn was hard to see, I decided to knit another version with a thicker yarn. This is just a very simple acrylic yarn. And I thought it would be a good idea to use a bright color so it's easy to see, but then I realized it's probably a bit too bright, so the video didn't come out quite as clear as I would have liked. But now I'm going to continue. This is just 1.5 pattern repeats. I'm planning on finishing the second pattern repeat, and then I want to use this to show how to knit the edge, because there's a different pattern for the edge. And I will change the color because this is not going to be a shawl anyway. I'm going to change to a different pink just to see whether it's easier to see on camera. And then I can show the rest of the shawl, how it's being knit and how you cast off. I can show that on video with this shawl, and I don't have to knit like 500 stitches before I can show the next row. So that's why I decided to make a little piece just to show the different techniques and to talk you through the chart so you can see how things work. Yeah, so that was nice and quick, but I think I showed you everything that I knit and crocheted last week. Next week there won't be a regular episode because I will be traveling, And I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to record a special video that I will show you next Monday, or the other idea was I've done several unboxing videos when I get my Opal subscription package with 6 balls of yarn that I don't know the color of yet. So far I've only done that in German because I can't be surprised a second time, so it doesn't really make sense to make that video twice. If I go with that option, then there probably won't be an English video next week, so you'll have to wait 2 weeks for the next video, and then I'll show you all my projects, how far I've got during those 2 weeks, and maybe also some new cast-ons. So however I decide to do things, whether it's 1 or 2 week, I hope you'll join me again. I hope you enjoyed today, and I'll see you in the next one.